This is the sluggo, slant and go.
Georgia Tech, Florida State.
If you're going to ruin this show by doing research,
Notre Dame.
my dentist is a Notre Dame grad.
Definitely smells.
Casey the Beef Kurgan, it's Wednesday. It's you. It's me. It's college football. What do you think about my shirt?
I love it. It was the best thing I've ever seen. The Try County Tech Lynx. I didn't even know Try County Tech had a mascot, but that is wonderful.
I don't even know if they do. I think this might be made up. I'm off some shyster website. I'm surprised Try County Try wasn't spelled with T-R-Y. But you've set the bar, right? This is kind of what we're known for, these wild and crazy shirts. And, I found a bizarre site that sells all kinds of stuff. I got some doozies coming up in the future.
I love
and
it.
Now my sister is sending me shirts through the mail. So we're a hit. What are you wearing tonight?
I got Savannah Bananas, their Coastal Plains League baseball, summer league baseball team for college kids. They wooden bats. They're a lot of fun. Our resident Chad Yarber, fan of the show, friend of the show, is a season ticket holder. At least his parents are, so I like to say he is too. They're at Grayson Stadium there in Savannah, Georgia. So just giving a little love to the Bananas. They also, their biggest rival, little known fact here, their biggest rival is the Macon Bacon. That's a true story. Hey, Kevron, how are you? Thanks for joining us tonight, pal. Good to see you.
Kevron, we're in the comments early tonight. Kevron Harris is checking in at 6:30 and 6:31. Hey, Beef, I don't know if I can get the share my screen up here, but yes, I can. Hey, there's the button. I got a notice. The other day in the mail. Not in the mail. What am I talking about? On email.
You're trying to do too many things at once here.
Yeah, I'm trying to be Morgan Thomas, and there it is. I got an email the other day that said between each step are from your friends, the Levines, and I'd like to think now my friends too. The book has been sent through the mail. Might take a while to get here, but that's okay. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's in the mail. I talked to Patrice, via one of the social medias. Yes, I am, Nelson. It's very cold up here, especially in the basement. But I did talk to Patrice via one of the social media sites saying that they are on the way. And apparently media mail is the slowest form of mail, which I didn't know that. I have a package that was sent to Switzerland that's been caught in customs for 7 days. So I thought that was slow. Apparently media mail might be slower. So it's on its way. We're looking forward to it. Check it out if you're interested in fun adventures. And we thank them every week.
Yeah. I can't wait to read it. I started, I think I said this a couple of weeks ago. I started Ball 4 by Jim Bouton, 50 years behind, but hey, whatever. But when baseball season ended, I kind of lost the feeling for baseball. So I'll pick it up again in the spring, and in between I'll read the Levines because it's always hiking time. I call it the Levines. Between each step, it's the book. Also, let me do this. Tomorrow night, you will be on your side chick, as I call it. I'm really struggling with this, but there's your side chick, or maybe it's your main chick. Either way, your other show, the Chop and Beef show. What you got coming up tomorrow?
I like to say that we're equal parties, different animals completely. We don't do the live thing because we're cheap on that show, but we have a great show lined up for us tomorrow. I haven't done the outline quite yet, but one thing that we kind of teased last week was a quick story that I had where I had a guy at a bar years ago that said that Florida was the best 4-loss team in the country. We're going to go into detail tomorrow night, picking the best 2-loss, 3-loss, 4-loss, 5-loss, 6-loss, and 7-loss team in the country. So I'm actually rather excited about it, and I thank you for allowing me to have that time on this show. So
no doubt. Hey, and that's how we, found each other. Sounds like we're getting married. Speaking of which, next week's don't tell Mrs. Cregan. Next week is our 25th Jubilee or whatever you call it. I got it somewhere on the outline, but next week will be show number 25. You can believe that or not. So I actually stumbled across the Chop and Beef, and that's how I found Casey. And I thought, it'll be a really good idea to do a show with this goofball. But anyway, I thought it'd be a lot of fun. It's worked out great, and I'm glad we ended up checking each other out and hooking up. And that sounds kind of weird too, but you know what I mean. And finding each other, becoming podcast partners, a live show, and we've grown so much since then. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun on this show, and it's kind of allowing me to be kind of both ends of who I am, right? I'm a June baby, so there's part of Gemini is the twins, right? So I kind of have that edgy side that I bring out and steer the show of the Chop and Beef, and I kind of let Marty steer the show here. I don't let you. You do. You don't have a choice. And therefore, it's kind of two different personalities, and I love them both. So
wait a second. You're a June baby. When's your birthday?
The 4th.
Okay, 17th here. So I was starting to wonder. It's going to get a little creepy in here.
Real creepy, real fast.
Hey, all right. Chop and Beef every Thursday night. Casey gets it out late Thursday, and I'm in Central Time, so it's really late for you folks on the East Coast. But check it out. It's always worth a listen, and I always laugh at one of the three, sometimes all three of you at the same time. But a lot of fun. Chop and Beef show. Anchor, all the other places, right, Case?
Yeah, and if you're looking for serious college football talk, we're not the show for you. If you're looking to have some fun, we have one gentleman that messes up names. I'd like to think it's on purpose. It may not be, but it's a lot of fun. We have fun. And while I'm on the topic, I did want to say hello to my mother, who is watching the show, because last week she sent me a text that came through 2 hours too late, and got mad at me the next day when I saw her for not saying hello. So shout out to my mom and dad watching.
Yes, absolutely, Mr. and Mrs. Krieg, and thank you very much for watching and listening. And I heard you told me your mom sent some very nice shows. Now that was a very nice things about our show. That was a couple shows ago, so I don't know what she said last week.
I haven't heard anything, so I don't know if that's a good thing or not. We'll see.
No news is good news. I wanted to follow up on last week. It was Veterans Day last week when we got together, and I talked about helping VFW Post 12058 in Kyle, Texas. They have a free breakfast every Friday morning for veterans, but whoever wants to show up. One of the guys there and his wife have been paying out of their pocket for years. Whoever shows up, they don't check. You don't necessarily have to be a veteran. If you're hungry, you show up. But obviously, it's at VFW. It is for veterans. So I wanted to collect some money and help them out, and I donated my interesting fun jar money to that, and $12 for last week for everybody saying interesting in the comments. And I put a call out, see if anybody was willing to help me, and response has been outstanding. We've raised $185 so far. 3 names that come to mind: Brandon Rank from TigerNet, who's been my bud for years and years and years, and has helped me get 70 Reserve to where it is, because he was the first media member to look at my stuff, read it, say it was good, gave me a chance to publish some stuff on Orange and White when he was working for Orange and White. So thank you, Brandon. As always, stand-up guy. I think he is a military brat. I don't recall what branch, but he's a military brat. So he's helped me out. Your buddy, speaking of the Chop and Beef, Jeff Justin, want to thank Jeff. Very generous donation from Jeff Justin. So the Chop and Beef show and Jeff are in the house. And of course, Nelson Wilhite, who watches this show all the time, helps us out on the Facebook page. Very generous donation from Nelson too. So thanks to those 3 guys and everybody who's donated or commented last week, and I added an extra $1. We're at $185. I'd like to get it over 200 if we can get there. And if not, I'll make it 200. But next week or so, I'm going to close it up and send it to them, make sure they can use it for Christmas or whatever. So good cause. Thank you to Brandon, Jeff Justin, Nelson Wilhite, and everybody who's contributed.
Yeah, it was a great cause, great thing that you're doing. How did the not to go off track here, but how did the interaction go with them, with the folks there? Were they appreciative?
I haven't told them yet.
Okay.
It wasn't the plans. I told you I was going to. But
I thought you said you did. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Let us know. Report back when you do.
I definitely will. I'm going to ask them for. Only thing I'm going to ask them for is a picture, something of somebody getting some food and somebody who needs it being helped out, and to let everybody else who's contributed know that their money is going to that VFW 100%. So thanks to everybody again. All right, Casey, college football.
Oh yeah.
Ostensibly, that's why we're here. So, but I have a rant this week. Clemson was off. So this is kind of about college football. Clemson was off last week. So I had some free time. And what I do in my free time, I scroll through Netflix or Amazon Prime Video or something. But this was on regular TV. I think it was on, I can't remember. It's one of those science channels, right? I watched this show where they took a spacecraft, flew that sucker 340 million miles, landed it on a moving asteroid, and picked up a sample, and they're going to fly it back. By the way, it landed within like 50 feet of where it was supposed to, 340 million miles away. They're going to fly it back. It's going to take 2 years to go 340 million miles, and they know where it's going to land in the Utah desert, so they can check out what this asteroid is made of. So it kind of struck me, kind of stood out to me that they can fly that asteroid 340 million miles, round trip, 680 million miles, land it within 58 feet of wherever they wanted to. But it takes an hour and a half for them to review a play in college football. I don't get it. I still don't get it.
I was curious as to where you were going with this, but man, oh man, that needs to become a regular part of this show. Things like that. That tickled me a lot, man. Wow, that's hilarious.
340 million miles, and they said, "Oh darn, we only have a 50-foot radius now." And they're like, "Boop." I'm like, what the heck?
Now you're the math guy. How fast is that thing going? If it's going to take 2 years?
Not. I thought about it when they said it, but I didn't get the particulars. They just said it'd land in sometime in 2023 because it's still doing something up there. Haven't even headed home yet. But it takes 2 years, 2 solid years of cranking out. One time I saw the space shuttle in my backyard in North Austin, and went inside and watched the thing land on TV in 18 minutes in Florida. So those things are hauling, man. Those things are hauling. But anyway, I just thought technology is there, folks. We got 2 85-year-old guys looking at replay for 20 minutes to find out if it's 3rd and 7 or is it 3rd and 6.5.
And then how much time stuff. That was funny. When I saw it on the outline this week, I was curious as to where it was going, and I'm like, what the hell is he talking about an asteroid for? But that's fantastic. So that leads us right into college football, right?
Yeah, I tried to leave it as vague as possible, so you'd
that was vague.
You'd be like, what is he talking about? So we'll see what I can come up with next week, if anything. Speaking of college football, our guest is here. We've been looking forward to this for a week, folks, and let's bring him in now.
There he is.
There's Mr. Jason Priester of allclemson.com. Jason, how's it going tonight?
I'm running a little late. How you doing, fellas?
That's okay. We're talking about asteroids and bad officiating.
Oh, I see.
We're talking about Notre Dame.
Sounds like I might have missed the best part.
Well, Notre Dame is just fresh in the mind, but that can go for 100 games or 1,000 games, or my history in watching college football. The replay, I just don't get it. I don't get why it takes 48 minutes to decide if it's 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 6.5. But anyway, Jason, you didn't come here to talk about that. Jason Priester from allclemson.com. We came here. We're going to start off with a little bit of fun for us Clemson folk. Will Muschamp was relieved of his duties. It might be fun for him too. He's getting somewhere between 13 and 21 million I've seen to do nothing. Good gig if you can get it. But it's rumored that they're looking for a fast hire, which sounds like a really bad idea to me, and someone offensive minded, which sounds like a good idea, especially after Muschamp. So I was listening to Bud Elliott on the Barton and Bud podcast, and he had these wonderful quotes to say about this job. Now, I know Casey's seen this on the outline, Jason. You haven't, so unless you've heard this, let me run this by you. two things stood out, what he said about the South Carolina job. This is a dead-end paycheck job, meaning, you take the job, you're going to get paid well, you're going to be canned in a matter of years. The second one's even better. If I'm taking this job, I need you to understand 5-7 is not a bad season at South Carolina. What do you think about that, Jason?
That's pretty harsh, man. That is harsh. Who'd you say said that, Matt? Who?
Bud Elliott.
Oh, I kind of like Bud Elliott.
Yeah.
That's harsh, man. That is harsh.
Yeah, he used to be a Florida State guy, but now he's with the CBS folks.
He's kind of on to something there a little bit. I think he's a little too extreme with that. We've seen Steve Spurrier's had success there. I mean, it can be done. It's going to take the right guy, and it's going to take time, and it's going to take patience. And I don't know that they'll ever be able to be one of the nation's elite teams. But I mean, I don't see why they couldn't be an 8, 9, 10 win team. And be much better than what they have been, anyways. Well, I mean, I kind of see what he's saying there. I think it's a little on the extreme side.
Now, you being in the media and having credentials and all that, do you have any connections with guys? Do you know guys just from being in the industry forever at South Carolina? What are they saying?
You know what? I really don't know anybody over
Good.
there.
That's the right answer, Jason.
The people that I do know, the name I keep hearing the most is Billy Napier. That's the one that keeps coming back over and over.
And I think
to me that's not a bad way to go. I like Napier. I think he's a good football coach. He's young, he's energetic, and I think that's exactly what South Carolina needs. And he's also offensive minded. Another thing they need. He checks all the boxes as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's a big job. But I like Napier. If you're gonna go that route, I think he's your guy.
Well, in Bud's defense, his rationale, and I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head. I'm an old dude, so give me a break. I'm not going to remember it all. But basically, Georgia, Florida are in their division, so they're going to play them every year, right?
Yep.
They're going to play Clemson every year, except for this year. That's 3. Cross-division rival is A&M, so they're going to play them every year. His point is A&M's passed them by and will continue to enlarge that gap. And then you're looking at Tennessee, who he thinks has a chance to be better. Kentucky, who's beaten them 5 out of 6 years or something. So he laid it all out, and he basically said, I need 3 cupcakes non-conference, Don't give me North Carolina. Give me North Carolina Central, basically.
Yeah, I understand the part about Georgia and Florida. That those are big time schools right there. It's going to be hard for South Carolina to ever surpass them. I don't see why they can't compete with Tennessee though. They should be better than Kentucky. They should be better than Vanderbilt. They should at worst be the 3rd or 4th best team in that division every year. I think that's a job that, if it's done right, the right guys there, you get the right culture in place, which is something else they need is a big overhaul of the culture there. But I mean, I don't see why somebody couldn't come in and consistently win 8 games a year. I mean, I think it can be done. I'm not saying they're going to ever overtake Georgia or Florida. I don't ever see that happening. But they should be better than Kentucky. They should be better than Vanderbilt. They should be better than Missouri. All those other schools in that division.
And at 8 wins, they can hang their hat on a winning program in that conference that has the narrative of being the best conference in the country year after year, right, wrong, indifferent. One thing that I heard the other night, Monday night on Morgan Thomas's show from Houston Burnett was rather interesting. I thought when we were going to have you on here, I could ask you because it raised my eyebrows and I wanted to give him credit too. But South Carolina opened the Pandora's box of being okay to fire your coach, which leads to the question that maybe then Harbaugh whoever it may be. But let's just say, for argument's sake, that Tennessee opens up. I don't think they will, but Michigan opens up, Texas opens up, maybe even Virginia Tech opens up. South Carolina is probably not. Let's just use those for argument's sake. Those 4 other schools, they're the 5th choice probably, because they're even talking Shane Beamer, and Beamer is actively recruiting himself to get that job at South Carolina. But if Virginia Tech opens, who's Virginia Tech calling first? So, what are your thoughts on something like that? Did they open Pandora's box, and is that job wanted by anybody?
I think it's definitely a possibility. If I had to answer one way or the other, I'd say probably not. I could see 1 or 2 of those schools firing their coach. And if they did open Pandora's box, they're looking at the same kind of predicament they were in back when they hired Muschamp. They were the 5th, 6th, 7th best job on the market that year. And what happened? They got passed over, and they said they had to settle for their 6th choice or something like that. Muschamp was definitely not near the top of that list. But yeah, I mean, I could definitely see it playing out that way.
Now, Jason, you talked about Billy Napier, and I think that's a popular choice. Casey mentioned that about 4 weeks ago, I think, actually. And what about somebody like Hugh Freeze? He's got some baggage, but he's a good coach. I mean, have they cared about baggage before, and would they care this time? Is Hugh Freeze a name you think would play at South Carolina?
I think they would love that, and I think it would be such an ironic twist of fate. After all the years and accusations of cheating that they throw at Clemson, I mean, I've heard it for decades, and then you go and hire the biggest cheater out there. I mean, I don't. There used to be some talk that Freeze was kind of blacklisted from the SEC, and I don't know if that's still in place or not. It seems like there's some talk that Saban wanted to add Freeze to his staff back in 2018, and Birmingham shot that down point blank. So, I mean, I think the question is the Birmingham ready to let him back in the league?
Man, the things you have to do to get blacklisted from the SEC. Wow.
that right there speaks volumes and tells you all you need to know.
Oh, hilarious.
I got kicked out of Auburn Stadium, so I'm sure I'm blacklisted at least at one place.
I'm sure more than one, but yeah, we'll leave it there. So, go ahead.
Hugh Freeze just signed that extension with Liberty too. I can't remember all the details, but since that's a private school, they don't have to release the buyout details. But I mean, it wouldn't be cheap to go get him. And after what they just paid out, to Muschamp, they got to they got to buy out all those assistant coaches too. That might not even be feasible. So, I mean, I really don't think it's going to be him, but it sure would be ironic if it was.
No doubt. So Casey mentioned earlier a little bit about Jim Harbaugh. What do you think about him at Michigan? Do you think he's going to make it a pass this year? I'll give him to the end of the year.
I think if you would have asked me going into the year, was there any chance he could be fired? I would have instantly said no, but I think it's on the table now. And I think depending on how they finish up, he might could get gone before, at the end of the season. He has just not produced what they were expecting there. They're just not very good. And even if he's not fired, he's going to be forced to make some drastic changes inside that program. He's going to have to make some tough decisions as far as his coaching staff. Status quo is not going to be good for next year.
There's a lot of talk up here in the Northeast, locally in the New York metro area here, that the Jets are going to go after him hard for their head coach. So he may have a choice, and he may leave on his own as well.
That might be the route he needs to go.
I was going to say, how hard do they have to go, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's going to take much.
I've always wondered if he might be better suited to coach in the NFL than college anyways. As good as he was at Stanford, when Michigan hired him, I thought that was a home run hire. I thought they were going to be good under him. It's just not worked out that way at all. And I mean, I don't even know. I can't even begin to get into all the problems they got up there, but it is definitely a bad situation.
Well, they had a big-time quarterback, McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey's brother, who's now not only not opted out this year, but he's in the transfer portal. So, yeah, their cupboard seems really bare if you look at their roster even.
They got problems. they got big time problems up there.
That transfer portal is a busy place this year. Our guest is Jason Priester from allclemson.com. And Jason, let's talk a little bit about football last week and what we saw last weekend. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I like the pettiness of the Iowa-Minnesota game. Do you guys see the end of this? Minnesota called timeout so they wouldn't get shut out. Then Iowa called 3 timeouts with 17 seconds to go or something crazy like that. Man, that's college football. You don't see stuff like that in the NFL now.
I got no problem with a team calling timeout to not get shut out.
Apparently, there was some bad blood from last year as well. Something similar happened in last year's game. I didn't get all the details, but thanks, Nelson, for the update here for Clemson Soccer's on tonight.
I remember it might have been last year when Jimbo Fisher called timeout late in Clemson, to get a touchdown on the board to avoid getting shut out, I think.
Well, that paid dividends, at least publicity-wise, because all we heard was Clemson only won by 14, right?
Yep.
21 and 14 is a big difference. And only scoring 3 points would be a big negative for A&M too. And I don't have any problems with it either way. And I think it was for Ferentz who said that he's been getting grief from writers for losing games with timeouts on the scoreboard. So he said, I'm using every one of them now, man. Nobody's going to be able to complain about that.
Nothing I love more than a coach being candid. I love that.
Indiana is in the top 10. That's the good news. The bad news is they got to travel to Ohio State this weekend. A lot of folks think Indiana, the Hoosiers, can give the Buckeyes a game. Jason, what's your thoughts?
I think they're going to get their doors blown off. Ohio State, after they had their game canceled last weekend, they need to be impressive every week. They need to be impressive from the start of the whistle to the end of the whistle. They're going to be short on games compared to some of these other teams, so they're going to have to make a statement, man. And this is their only ranked opponent on the schedule. So it's Indiana who that statement is going to be made against. And I think the point spread is 21?
20 and a half last time I saw.
20 and a half. Yeah, I think they're going to cover that and easy. I think they're going to blow Indiana's doors off. Yeah, I would love to be wrong about that, though. Nothing would make me happier than to be wrong.
So we're picking that game later, and I literally said, I'm not giving it away, but I just said I hope I'm wrong. So we have the same thought process. We've been pretty similar on our picks on the pages. So I don't know. I don't know about that game at all. They have the teams that Indiana has beaten are 3-13 overall.
Yep. I was going to say we don't know a whole lot about Indiana either. We're going to find out about them because the teams they have beaten, I know that aren't they 3-0? They beat Michigan, Michigan State, and Penn State. Maybe that's the first time they've ever beat all 3 of those teams in the same season. But it took all 3 of them being dreadful to do it.
Well, yeah, I did hear the 3-13 stat, but also heard they're 3-13 because 4 of those losses were to Indiana, right? So they're still crappy 3-9. Playing teams other than Indiana. Yeah, hey, it's been down for a couple of weeks as a Clemson fan, right? Because we're not used to losing in the regular season. But I found this little nugget on Twitter, and I don't know who to credit. I was lazy and didn't credit it, but I found this little nugget on Twitter. Clemson has been ranked in the top 5 for 50 consecutive weeks. That's the longest active streak in college football, and the 3rd longest streak in the history of the AP poll. So, man, it's been a rough week and a half as a Clemson fan, but, I mean, all is not lost. Is it, Jason?
No, all is not lost. Oh, it's not time to panic. Not time to panic by far. You're getting your starting quarterback back on the field. You're getting, the key to your defense back on the field this week, or that's the popular thought anyways. Guys are getting healthy. It's definitely not time to panic.
Well, I'm going to record this. I am recording this. And I'm going to play it for Casey on the text chain when Florida State scores, because Casey will go crazy thinking the world's coming to the end because it's not a shutout.
Well, when we're down by 10, if 4 minutes into the game this week, and Jordan Travis has 714 yards rushing, I'm going to be a little nervous. No, I was going to ask you too, Jason. I know you're privy to a lot of information, a little bit closer to the program than we are, especially reading your stuff. Most of the stuff I get is from you, but that injury list this week is extremely long. A lot of questionables that we're seeing with some very familiar names, but I think questionable, I'm more positive, right? So questionable means that they're going to get a lot of guys back. Like you were talking about, Tyler Davis they say may play. Mike Jones, they say may play. So what are you hearing from inside the program as all these names?
Listening to Dabo tonight, he seemed pretty positive. He seemed pretty optimistic about getting most of those guys back. Obviously, Skowski's not going to be back. Ladson's not going to be back. But outside of that, he said he felt really good about getting most of the other guys back. I think they're going to all be back. The one I'm going to be watching the most is Joseph Ngata. You know, every time they think he's back, he either re-aggravates that injury or something happens, and he has a setback. That's a guy they need on the field. They need somebody on the outside that can stretch the defense consistently. And for Amari Rogers, as great as he's been, he's not that guy. He's not the guy that's going to, you know, when you're facing Alabama in the national championship game, you don't want him on there. You don't want the best cornerback on the field covering Amari. But that's your slot guy. You don't want to have to play him in the boundary. That's who I'm going to be watching is Joseph Ngata. That's the guy they need healthy, and I'm hoping he's going to be here. I'm hoping he's going to be worked back in starting this week.
He flashed a little early in that Notre Dame game, and I was excited. But was it the first catch or second catch he had? He started grabbing for his rib cage area.
I think it was the very first one.
And I was like, not again.
So
that was the same thing. When I saw it too. As soon as he caught that ball, I was watching with my dad, and I looked down and said, "There he goes again."
Was it his rib cage? Because it looked to me like he was limping, or maybe it's both. What did I misread it?
Wasn't it an ab or something? I don't know.
The abdominal strain is what, originally sidelined him, but it was kind of hard to tell the other night what he was really grabbing at. I thought he could have been limping too.
Okay. Our guest is Jason Priester from allclemson.com. Now, Jason, when I asked you to come on, this is a set of questions that I wanted to ask. As I was sitting there watching that Notre Dame game, I thought, man, that quarterback situation looks like it's in hand for the next 2 years, right after this year, 21 and 22. And I thought Taj to Deshaun, to Trevor, to DJ, all that sounds great and wonderful. And Clemson's had a superstar quarterback for 7, 8, 9 years straight now. There's a few games in there where some other guys did okay. But basically, for the last 8 or 9 years, has been a superstar quarterback back there. I went and looked at the recruiting, the commits. I went and looked at the top quarterbacks in the 2023 cycle, and I didn't see any of them that were interested in Clemson. What's going to happen come 2023? Is there someone in the pipeline that I'm not aware of? Is somebody that's already on the roster going to turn out to be the next Taj, Deshaun, Trevor? What's the deal with the 2023 quarterback?
They tried to land one of those big guys, in this class here, this 2021 class. But all those guys, they knew with DJ on campus that when they came in, they were going to be sitting 2 years. They weren't going to win that job for him. And I think Clemson realized pretty early they weren't going to gain any traction with those guys. So they settled on Bubba Cunningham out of Georgia. I think he's a 4-star guy now. But I tell you what, he's a guy that doesn't get a lot of play in recruiting circles. He really wasn't noticed a whole lot until Clemson offered him. He had committed to play baseball at Georgia, matter of fact. And but I kind of like him. I think he's a guy that's got a high ceiling. I don't know. I mean, he's got to be developed some. I don't know if he ever reaches that ceiling that I think he has. But I think the potential is there. Now, in 2022, they've already offered 2 guys. Braden Davis, He's one of the top dual threat quarterbacks in the country, and Ty Simpson, he's another. Both of them are top 5 dual threat quarterbacks in the country. Both of them's top 100 players. I think Simpson's the one right now that that's at the top of the board that they're gonna be after hard. I think that's their guy. I think that's who they got their mark on for 2022.
Does it hurt that they can't get these guys on campus? I mean, that's such a dumb question. I'm sorry I asked it, but
Actually, I don't think it's dumb at all. You know, I got asked that today. Matter of fact, somebody asked me that on Facebook today, that exact question, and a guy responded in the comments saying, "No, it don't." I said, "Well, pump the brakes a little bit there, because yes, it does." Yeah, the Clemson brand's at its strongest. Everybody knows what DePaul is, and it's a lot easier to recruit when you're winning at the level they're winning at now. But Clemson's biggest selling points are the campus and the culture inside the program. And when you can't get these kids on campus to see that campus or to experience that culture firsthand, it's going to make it harder, man. I mean, I think they're in a position where they're going to be able to navigate it and be okay, but it definitely makes it harder. There is no doubt about that. When you can't have kids on campus, that just throws a wrench in everything.
there's always been guys that will cite that when they sign in February. Normally they'll say, once you get to school, there's just, the old saying, there's something in these hills. There is, and that has been I thought it's a huge deal that they can't get on campus.
Dabo has said many times that some of the biggest challenges in recruiting is getting the guys on campus. And then once they get to campus, it's a lot easier after they've been there and seen the campus, experienced the culture and all that. But yeah, I totally agree with that. I think it does make it harder.
Even the camps, right, in the summer. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, and they just extended that dead period again today. So I don't know I can't remember what the date was, but it's into the spring now. It was supposed to end at the end of the year, and now it's into the spring.
I was a negative 5-star recruit, but once I got to campus, I knew where I was going to school at. I'm telling you, and there wasn't even a scholarship waiting for me. There was a bill, but it's called tuition. But it goes for athletes and non-athletes too, is what I'm getting at. There's something there, and it's a great place to hang out. Casey liked it so much he stayed for 6 or 7 years
and went back after I left. Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to ask about is running backs, and I know they have some on the team now, and they've got some in the pipeline for next year. Phil Maffa, I think that's how you say that, Maffa, and Will Shipley. But they're replacing the all-time leading rusher and the all-time ACC leading rusher and everybody's favorite running back, Travis Etienne. Do any of these guys strike you as someone who can fill the void, or is it going to be a committee type deal?
I got to say that I really expected more out of Lynn J. Dixon this year than what we've seen. I know he was injured to start the season, but from my understanding, he's totally healthy now, and he's just not progressed the way I thought he would. He still runs real high. He runs real stiff. He's not very patient, letting the plays develop. He's too quick to bounce stuff to the outside. We've seen the last couple of games. Ches Malusi's actually gotten carries before Dixon. Dixon didn't even get a single carry against Notre Dame. I can't remember about Boston College, and speaking of Malusi, I really like him. He's twitchy, as Tony Elliott likes to say. He's twitchy. He's starting to pick up the blocking schemes. I think after Etienne leaves for next year, I think, Malusi will be one of the guys that gets the first shot at the job. And Dukes is not a bad complimentary guy either. But they got 2 guys coming in, Will Shipley. Everybody likes to talk about. He's the 5-star guy from North Carolina. I mean, he is fast, man. I don't know that I've seen a faster high school recruit. I'm sure some have been timed out faster than him, but when you just watch his film, he is just fast. But the guy that I really like is the other running back they got coming in next year, Phil Maffa. That guy is a bruiser, man. He just, man, I like him. I think he's already rushed for over 1,000 yards this year. He's averaging, what is it, close to 9 yards a carry. I mean, but yeah, he had 5 100-yard games, and he plays against good competition down there in Georgia, man. He's not doing that against a bunch of scrubs. I think Clemson's going to be pretty set up at running back with him and Shipley and with the guys they've got there now. Even Dixon, so I know he hadn't progressed the way I like, but he's also coming in after Etienne, who is the best running back ever at the school. So, I mean, that's a big old shadow casted over him, so to speak.
Reminds me a little of Rod McDowell, kind of just it was slow to progress a little bit, but then showed out his senior year. So that's my hope anyway.
Oh, man, McDowell was fantastic that last year. Oh, Hot Rod. I loved watching him play, man. I still get irritated thinking of Chad Morris abandoning the run in Columbia that night. McDowell senior season, I think he had 95 yards in the first half and they handed it to him 5 times after halftime.
Some memories live forever. Unfortunately, it's usually not the ones where Deshaun Watson flips it to Hunter Renfrow for the national championship. I'm wondering if Lynn J is the offensive line struggles are affecting Lynn J's running, because he's a different kind of runner, right? He's kind of he's a home run guy, right? Yeah. Etienne's gonna fight and scrap and get you 2, 3, 4, 5 yards, even on a bad play, a play that's not a block. NJ is going to lose 3 or get 65. That's what it seems to me as a lay person. Yeah,
to me, I think the offensive line has played a big factor in that because like I said, he hasn't shown a lot of patience. But this year there hadn't been a lot of holes to be patient for opening up. He's had to bounce them outside. And I know I've heard Elliott be critical of him sometimes for bouncing stuff outside when he wasn't supposed to. But, yeah, he's more of a home run guy, bouncing outside than he is between the tackles. But, yeah, he stayed for a reason. He could have, when Etienne decided to come back, he could have left. He could have transferred. Nobody would have blamed him for that because this was supposed to be his year. That was supposed to be his job this year. But he stuck it out. He's been there competing every day, and I think at worst next year you're going to get a running back by committee approach. But that's a running back room full of talented running backs. So I think Clemson's going to be just fine in that department.
And they lost Bowman, right? I mean so that's another thing. You get a 5-star kid coming in. That's another reason Lynn J could have left and no one would have, thought twice about the decision, but he didn't. So, wow, that's a good point.
I started to bring Bowman up a minute ago, but that hurts my heart too bad.
I couldn't say the name. I was like, so what else is going on? What you got going on at allclemson.com, Jason?
Matter of fact, tonight I'm working on a recruiting comparison between Florida State and Clemson. and
Right.
You don't realize exactly how the gap in those rosters until you start comparing the talent on each depth chart, man. That the gap between those two teams just grows more every year.
I loved Zach's article today about Taj too. That was a great article that you guys put up for Zach Lentz.
Yeah, that was a good one. I can't remember. I want to say, that the one where he laid the foundation or whatever.
Yeah,
that was a good one. Yeah. Sure was. I hated to hear yesterday that Taj's daddy died, man. That was just tragic, terrible. I hate hearing that.
Absolutely. Thoughts with the Boyd family at the passing of Taj's father. But what you guys were just talking about kind of struck me today. Did you ever think, like, look back at 2014-ish, 13-ish, 14-ish, did you guys ever think Clemson would walk into Doak Campbell Stadium as a 5-touchdown favorite?
No, I surely didn't. I mean, the last time I was in Doak Campbell Stadium, I think it was in 2010. I had, as a Clemson fan, I had resigned myself to the fact that they were going to be what they were under Tommy Bowden for the rest of my life. That I had already seen them win their own national championship. And I won't never forget the day that I realized that, hey, you know, this team's for real. And it was against Florida State in 2015 in Death Valley. I can't remember the score of that game, but it was like 28 to something. Gallman run in the touchdown with like 2 minutes to go to seal it.
Oh, it was great.
When Gallman ran in that touchdown, that was when I knew right then that, you know, it had changed, that this program had gone from being really good to elite. I knew it right. It was like I could feel 40 years of anguish just lift off my shoulders. Man, my daughter was with me, man. She looked over there and she said, "Are you gonna cry, Daddy?"
Yeah.
I said, I just might.
You remind me of me running around the house after Renfro caught the touchdown. It was so late, you know, you got to hear 42-minute commercials there in the national championship game. And I'm sure there were reviews in that game too that took 10 minutes. But everybody, my son and my wife had gone to bed, and I'm running around saying, "They're going to win. They're going to win. They're going to win." They're like, "What in the heck is wrong with you?" So, yeah, I've been there too.
The funny thing, Marty, is they did review after that play how much time was remaining on the clock, because if whether or not Clemson had to kick off or not.
And they review the coin flip these days.
Yeah, that Notre Dame game, all them reviews, man, that was, God, they were so long. And then they reviewed the review. I mean, that thing got aggravating.
And Clemson didn't get one. We did no break there.
Not a one. Notre Dame got every bounce in that game.
And if you wouldn't know it if you read the internet, you know, because Notre Dame fans were still complaining about the calls after that game. I couldn't believe it. My dentist graduated from Notre Dame, and I put off my get my cap done for 6 months at least until after the ACC championship game, right?
That's exactly what I would have done.
I might go back there. We're talking to Jason Priester of allclemson.com. Jason, you got anything else you want to run by the folks that are watching and listening?
Nah, I don't think so. I'm too tired even. My brain's, I mean, I hadn't been feeling good today, man. Yesterday, I didn't get no sleep last night, man. I'm kind of running on fumes here today.
Well, we really appreciate you joining us. We took 40 minutes or so out of your night. So thank you very, very much. And hey, sit back, relax, and we're going to make some crazy picks. So you can drop off and just watch the show, because there's going to be some crazy picks, some bad picks. So
really bad picks.
I'm familiar with making bad picks, man.
You can be a regular. Jason, we appreciate your time, man.
Anytime, man. Y'all take it easy.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jason. Jason Priester, allclemson.com. What a great guy.
He's fantastic. Just the knowledge he brings, the fandom that he has, and then he's so close to the program. It's just fantastic.
The guy's working, throwing out articles, sharing them on our Facebook group. I mean, he keeps that thing humming along with Nelson. Every now and then I stumble across something and put it out there, but Jason puts out article after article for us, keeps the folks talking, and that's what all that's about. And speaking of Nelson has reminded us it was 23-13 in 2015. A lot closer than many people expected. And I do remember that Gallman touchdown that put that game out of reach.
Well, I believe it was early in that game that was it Dalvin Cook that took the handoff and went 75 yards. I was sitting in the west end zone that night, and I was like, "Oh, here we go again. They're just going to run away. We got another big bruising back that we're not going to be able to stop." And we did. We were able to stop them the rest of the night, and that was a great game. I remember exactly.
Well, in the fourth down play, right? Cook was stopped. Bullware and his friends. Yeah. All right, Casey.
Here we
Our
go.
partner in crime is not here, but he kind of is, because here we go. I don't think you could have done any worse if you tried.
Well, I take that as a victory.
These guys aren't doing research, so why should I? Beef, you stink the most.
A true believer in what they're doing in North Carolina. That's why I'm picking Virginia Tech, Tennessee.
I love Spencer Rattler.
I agree with Marty.
I don't like this.
Look, you smell it, the back door cover.
No, what you smell is our picks. Zach is not here tonight, but I'm surprised he's not in the comments throwing shots at us. But he isn't. So let me get the standings up here. I don't even know if here they are. Casey, the Beef Cregan, is on a 7-3 tear or tier, depending on how you want to read that. But he's still in last place at 22-31-2. Zach Locks Parker's one game out of first, 24-29-2, and somehow I'm hanging on to first, 25-28-2. We all had winning weeks last week, though, Casey, which is kind of a miracle in itself. But 5 more games this week, and Zach's not around to kick us around. We're going to try and go in the same order. I will undoubtedly screw this order up. That is what I do.
Charm. It's part of your charm, man.
We are going to start out in Myrtle Beach or Conway and go with Appalachian State is getting 5.5 points at Coastal Carolina. Who you got, Beef?
Yeah, I'm a real believer in CJ Maribel and Grayson McCall and the athletes down there in Conway, South Carolina. I know that Appalachian State has 1 loss, but I think the dream's still alive for Coastal. I'm going to pick Coastal and that 5.5 points.
All right. Zach Locks Parker, he is going to go with Coastal Carolina also. So we have 2 Coastals and we got me. My notes on this game say Coastal 6-2 against the spread. And they're 0.5 point away from being, well, I guess it wouldn't be 7-1. They're 0.5 point away from being 6-2-1 against spread. A point away from being 7-1. Meanwhile, Appalachian State 0-6 against the spread. How about that?
Wow.
Things you didn't know.
I didn't know.
And that is why I'm taking Coastal Carolina. All right. So all 3 of us are on Coastal Carolina. Next game up is Florida State and Clemson. 35-point spread. Clemson by 5 touchdowns in Doak Campbell Stadium. Never thought those words would come out of my mouth except in a dream, maybe. And Zach takes Florida State. Did I read his text right? He's taking Florida State.
Sure. That's fine.
Okay. Let me make sure. Let me check the tape.
Well, you're up first anyway, so you got time.
No, second. He took Clemson. I knew that didn't sound right. All right.
Locks took Clemson in this game?
That's what I got on the text. You may
right.
want to check it. All right, Clemson. Now, I went back and forth in this game because I don't trust Clemson with the 35 points. And yet, I look at Florida State, and I just can't. I mean, their quarterback situation is a mess. They got 4 freshmen on the offensive line. They got opt-outs and injuries. Clemson may win by 50, but it's Trevor's first game back. The run blocking's a mess. The offensive line has a lot of issues. No Skalski. We don't know about the defensive guys, the other defensive guys. I don't know who to pick. I'm going to throw a wild hair, and I am going to say Clemson. Who you got, Beef?
I had all Clemson here as well. Jordan Travis, he does bring life to this team, but there's no one behind him. And all it takes is one big hit by hopefully a healthy Brian Brzee, Miles Murphy, maybe even a Tyler Davis, Trenton Simpson. And now you don't have Chuba Purdy, who was just announced today that he's going to be out for the rest of the season. They have some freshmen behind him that I'm not sure where he came from. So it's literally Jordan Travis and not much else behind him. The best receiver, Tremarian Terry, he's gone. He's gone for the year. Best defensive players, gone. Opt-outs, injuries. It's like who you and I may be having to suit up for Florida State this week because I have a couple years of eligibility, I'm sure, left somewhere. But I just 35 is a big number, and I had Clemson written down, and I think I'm going to stick with it. But I don't know. I don't like it at all. That's fishy to me.
Yeah, I originally had Florida State down just because of that number. Then I started looking, and I really don't. I don't have a clue. I don't know. So I'm just throwing that out there. I'm going to say Clemson.
I'm due for a 1-4 week anyway, so it's fine. And thank you, Justin, for making me feel a little bit better.
All right. Next up is undefeated. Battle of undefeateds. Indiana and Ohio State. Now, I am going first on this one. I'm a little leery about taking Indiana after what I saw last week. I know our friend Zach Locks Parker's been talking up that quarterback. He completed 2 passes to the other team when I was watching and didn't look very good. 24 points against Michigan State. I mean, come on, man. Maybe they were looking ahead to Ohio State. I don't know. Here's what I do know. They needed a miracle to beat a winless Penn State team. They gave up 21 to Rutgers. Sorry, Casey. They beat a bad Michigan team and then only scored 24 against Michigan State. But the bigger thing than that for me is Ohio State's on a mission, as JP talked about earlier. I think Ohio State crushes the Hoosiers. I'm taking Ohio State. Who you got, Case?
This really sucks that you and I are agreeing this week. It's a big number, that 20.5, and Vegas is so smart. You know, that's a big number for professional gamblers, which is not what I am. I still, like you said, though, I think Ohio State is on a mission, and I think this is easily covered by Ohio State. It's at least a 3-score game, and I'm on the Indiana bandwagon. I just don't think they're not the number 10 team in the country, and they're not going to cover this 20.5. I hope I'm wrong. Like I told you before, I hope I'm wrong on the sheet, like JP just said earlier.
And too. As you mentioned, as we were talking about, Zach couldn't be with us today, but he did phone in on this game.
I agree with Marty.
All right, Zach. Zach also takes Ohio State. So the first 3 games, we're all 3 on the same teams.
That's not fun.
Central Florida and Cincinnati. Cincinnati travels to Central Florida as a 5.5-point favorite. Casey the Beef Cregan, who you got? Central Florida or Cincinnati?
It's at the Bounce House, and I don't know if anyone's ever seen the Bounce House, but that thing really does move when the fans are in it. Well, there's not going to be a lot of fans or any fans in there this week. It's a small little place, but I don't know. I just can't pick UCF. I was trying to do it all in my head. It's a revenge game from last year, from Cincinnati keeping them out of the Conference USA championship game. I just don't think it's going to happen, though. So I'm going to go with Cincinnati here and Desmond Ridder.
All right. You go with Cincinnati and mark that down. And let's talk to Zach Lock Parker again.
I agree with Marty.
And Marty goes with Cincinnati. We're all 4 for 4. Look, Cincinnati is 6-2 against the spread, including the last 5 straight. UCF's up and down. They score a lot, which makes me wonder about that 5.5-point spread, but they give up a lot. And so I think Cincinnati is just a better football team. And it doesn't matter. There's nobody there, as you said, in the bounce house. And the question really is for me, is this 34-31 or 38-31? So that 5.5 is kind of a dead number in the middle of nothing. It's a crapshoot. I'm going to go with Cincinnati. Zach Locks Parker, we do up next is Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. Zach took Oklahoma. And just as a coincidence,
I agree with Marty.
I also took Oklahoma because I love Spencer Rattler. And I'm not a believer in Oklahoma State. Really? I mean, we're hearing a lot about this team. Oklahoma State, they skimmed by coming back to beat Tulsa. Remember that in the opening game of the season? They were down at halftime. They barely beat Iowa State. They lost to Texas, and they beat Kansas State by 2 points. They're not exactly rattling off wins there in Stillwater. It all ends in Norman. What was I going to say? Sooners have covered their last 3. They're on a roll. They scored 62 in each of the last 2 games. Of course, they're playing basically high school teams. That doesn't matter. I love Spencer Rattler. And here's a question for you, Casey. Where would Oklahoma be without those 2 losses? What in the hell?
That's the question of the week, right? Question of the week.
Who you got, Case?
I'm actually the Spencer Bowl. Spencer Sanders versus Spencer Rattler. And we all know how you feel about Spencer Rattler. I'm a huge Chuba Hubbard guy. Hasn't put up the numbers. Well, he's not been bad, but he hasn't been where they thought he was going to be. I'm going to go against Justin Lineweaver here and against you two because I picked Oklahoma State to win the Big 12, and it's about the only chance I have to be right on any of my conference championship picks. And I'm going to go with Oklahoma State for no reason whatsoever.
Because you wanted to go against us. Because if you didn't go against us, that would have been the first week of the year that we all had all 5 same teams. And like you said, you picked Oklahoma State to win the Big 12.
I don't know if they'll win on Saturday, but I think that Bedlam's usually a 3, 4, 5 point game. So I think it's a 35-30 type game. Oklahoma probably wins, but I think weird shit happens. Pardon my language. At Bedlam. Yeah, you could beat me out there. Sorry about that.
Sorry, young William Laco. Apologies.
24 episodes. I did pretty good for 24 episodes.
Mrs. Laco, please report to
my mom. My mom's going to yell at me tomorrow too.
Oh, Mama Cregan. Oh man, you're in trouble now. Okay, just to recap. Casey took Coastal Carolina, Clemson, Ohio State, Cincinnati, and Oklahoma State. Zach Locks Parker. You know what? I had it messed up. Okay. Doesn't matter. Zach and I both chose all 5 the same teams. Coastal Carolina, Clemson, Ohio State, Cincinnati, and Oklahoma. It said Zach and I picked the same teams. Hey, Zach, if you listen to this, if you haven't got thrown out of your function tonight and you listen to this later, make sure I got the right picks down. I got them on the text, but who knows, right?
You got them right.
A fun show, Casey. A lot of fun having Jason on. I appreciate you, Jason, for hanging with us. Everybody who donated for the veteran cause, I more than appreciate that. I will make sure that money gets to them. Hopefully we can get up to $200. I'm going to make sure. Let's get over 200. We'll add a few more bucks to that, to over 200. Parting words from Casey the Beef Cregan.
Yeah, it was a great week. Thanks so much to everybody. Thanks to Nelson for giving me. I asked him to give me the soccer updates too. So thanks for putting it up there for me so I could see it. And Clemson won, so they're going to the final. That's good for Clemson fans. They're going to the ACC final, which is the last game of the season for soccer, as they're going to try to play in the spring as well. Thanks to everyone who adds stuff to the Facebook page. It's a lot of fun to read. I'm sorry I'm not on it nearly as much as I should be, but we do really appreciate it. And thanks to everyone for commenting on the show too. Justin Lineweaver, you don't get enough love from us. We appreciate you putting your stuff on there and interacting with us because it's great to see. Nelson, obviously, and everybody that does it. So thank you everyone for listening and watching us.
Yep, absolutely. We appreciate everybody over in Seldom News Reserve also. Thanks much, Casey. Until next week.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
I think that sounds pretty good.